Hello and welcome to another episode of the ADDERTalks podcast. Today we have a very exciting one because we are joined by our first ever external guest, Mr. Peter Brunet. Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Good. Peter joins us from Dimension Studios today. He came down, or up should I say, to do a internal learning session with some of the Adder employees, and it went very well. And we thought, while we have Peter, we'll do a podcast as well. So, firstly, let's just introduce Peter. Do you want to just go into your background a little bit and
Sure.
where you came from, where you are now?
Yeah, so I have been with Dimension for a little over 3 years now, but I grew up in the United States. I went to film school in Boston. Then I made my way out to Los Angeles, and I worked in the film industry out there for about 10 years, almost exactly. So I was a digital imaging technician, which is part of the camera department on set. So I worked on mostly TV, but some films and commercials, things like that. And then in 2021, started getting into virtual production, which is what I do now, of course. And then in 2022, my wife and I moved from America to London. And that's when I joined DNEG and Dimension for the virtual production team there. And the rest is history.
So you're obviously at Dimension now, and you guys work across some really cool projects, doing some really cool things, virtual production being one of them, which I think is what we'd like to focus on today. Would you be able to just describe to the viewers what virtual production really is and how it's used and what the applications are?
Yeah. So virtual production can mean a lot of different things across many sectors of kind of production and post-production. But primarily for my job, for my specific piece of it, we're talking about LED volumes. So there are other people in our team that might work across like pre-visualization or simulcam or green screen shooting, things like that. But for us, the LED volume on-set virtual production is kind of our key business. Mm-hmm. So for us, we kind of have a couple different ways of working. One, where we will fully bid out spec and deliver a full LED wall build with backend infrastructure, kind of the whole thing end to end, with as many services kind of script to screen as a client wants. Or we've also started going into pre-existing LED studios, which may not have the kind of architecture on the backbone that we would normally expect or require for our productions. And we've now started deploying a mobile virtual production system. Mm-hmm. So that'll be our render capabilities, our all of our computers, our ADDER KVM system, and storage, everything. Like things that we would need to deploy a whole stage, we can roll up with essentially 2 rolling racks, some flight cases, and be ready to go within days or less. Mm-hmm. And then shoot an entire production, pack up the end of it, and then move on to the next show.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what my job is figuring out all the pieces that we need for any given production, either designing it from a bid process to build something new or saying, okay, we need this equipment for this particular job. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to send out. We'll build it on set, have an on-set team really run the stage for the entire duration of production, and then we'll come in and move it on to the next piece.
And is that VPA?
Yes, it's virtual production anywhere. It's kind of the ecosystem that we've.
And how do you work in terms of, do you do your part once the set is built? Do you erect your bit after the set is built? How does it?
So we usually come in either to an empty stage or just a stage with an LED wall. Mm-hmm. And we build all the backend infrastructure, and then once our bit is built, then the actual film sets come in.
Gotcha.
The production departments will show up with, set decoration, art teams, everybody. Yeah. And then at the same time, everybody tries to get out in the same day.
Yeah. Because it's not just you have your LED wall for your virtual production. It's very much, it's a real set, and then the virtual production supports the real set, doesn't it?
Correct.
So,
as much as possible, we always encourage as much foreground elements, background actors, sets, lighting. It's not just people standing in front of a flat screen, because then it looks like people just standing in front of a flat screen. You really want to have that tangible foreground element to really pull people in, sell that immersion, and make it feel like, oh yeah, that is just the background. That is the extension of our entire space.
Yeah.
That's not just, a flat image.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind them.
Exactly. So that's a bit on virtual production, but I mean, I suppose we didn't really dive into what it is and what industries it serves and that stuff. So could you just maybe give a couple examples of how virtual production works and why would it be used in the film industry?
Virtual production can mean a lot of different things, but the important part that we try to go after is that we want to bring tools that would be normally further down the production pipeline, like doing your CGI backgrounds, things like that. We want to take some of that work off of the back end where it's time consuming and expensive, bring some of that work forward, and then try to capture as much of that in camera as possible so that when you leave the film set every day, you've got either what we would call final pixel, like the actual final result that can go straight to the edit, or something that requires very little work in post-production. And especially for episodic TV, where budgets are tight, timelines are tight, it means that you can deliver much more quickly. Like the show that we did, Those About to Die, in our Rome stage, that one we wrapped, I want to say it was sometime in the autumn of 23, and I think by the next May, it was already on Amazon streaming.
Wow.
So it was a very quick turnaround for the sheer scale of that production. It was a monumental achievement from everybody, but I don't think it would have been possible without virtual production.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in the internal session earlier, virtual production is a tool that should be used amongst other things and amongst real filming. You said it's not an all-in-one solution. I'm sure there's examples where an entire film has been filmed via virtual production, but it's likely that it'll be a mixture of real physical setting and filming and then virtual production included, right?
Yeah, it's always important to realize that of all the different ways that you can produce a film, you always want to be using the right tool for the job, not just the new thing that's flashy or the thing that might get attention. Like, you want to use the right tool for the right job, and we think that we have a lot of unique and interesting and powerful ways to do that, especially for budgets that are, not in the hundreds of millions, but for like sub-100 million, or like for the indie features. We're trying our best to be able to deliver to that market where it's been kind of traditionally underserved because it's just been cost prohibitive. But we've been able to come up with some technologies and ways of doing things that make it more accessible.
So you mentioned some challenges there, and you mentioned the Rome production that you worked on. Could you maybe go into a bit more about the challenges you had on set with that production?
Yeah, so that was a stage that we came into where the LED wall had been built. It was a beautiful build, but there was no server room attached to it, or I should say there was no infrastructure pre-built into it. Basically everything before the LED video processors was our responsibility. So we were given a pretty short deadline to build out the entire server room for that build and make that stage fully functional in a very short amount of time while we were also shooting another film here in London. So we kind of had to do a splitting up of the team so that some people were finishing up in London and some of us went to Rome to go start building that. But we had several weeks for design, procurement, delivery, installation, and then being ready for principal photography. And in that amount of time, there are certain things that we just couldn't spend enough time to do research or anything else. We just had to get it done. And unfortunately, one of those things that we didn't pay enough attention to was our KVM system, which ended up biting us a couple of times throughout the years. So we had problems with signal dropouts. We had problems with equipment overheating and failing. We had to do a lot of remote support and eventually on-set support to try to fix some of those issues. But that was kind of part of the challenges for the entire show, is because we weren't there full time and we would fly in from London, there were certain things that we just couldn't always be there to try to fix or troubleshoot. And those shortened lead times and changing of scope of what we wanted to be able to deliver at that stage, it made it challenging. And had we had more time, then we probably could have done some different things, and now we've learned more about what to prioritize.
Yeah, I imagine it's really stressful because I'm assuming it's an industry that's very demanding and where there's high expectations from some of the production teams and the directors and whatnot. So I imagine that was tough.
Yeah, I always like to remind people that on a film set, there are many different departments all working together. Everyone thinks that they're doing the most important thing, but the reality is that there's 10 other departments that have equally important roles, and you cannot work without all of them working together. So whenever any one team has a 5-minute delay, that's not just a 5-minute delay for them. It's 5 minutes for 200-300 other people, plus actors, plus stage, plus the cost of electricity to run a stage. Like, all those costs add up. So even a few minutes delay because of a hardware failure can mean a lot of money for a lot of people. So it adds an extra layer of pressure where it's not just, here's this thing, we're kind of the slow ones today. It's no, like, this is, time is money.
Yeah. It's an environment where downtime is awful, I imagine.
It doesn't feel good for anybody.
No, I can't imagine anyone's happy about that. But talking of downtime, and you mentioned the sub-bar KVM system you were using previously. Could you go into why it was a bad system? I mean, what was going? Was it IP KVM? Was it direct? It
was a simple point-to-point KVM over fiber, which when we first installed it was like, okay, we knew this would work. We had deployed it for some small stuff in London before, and we'll just get enough units to kind of run everything that we need, because we need something we can deploy in a week. But ultimately, it was not a managed matrix style, so we had very little flexibility. It was a lot of fiber to run, so it was a lot of just cables in a busy stage where you'd have failures because it's like, oh, well, there's 300 people on stage today. Someone probably kicked something out, or the stage has active fire on stage, so it's it's 40 degrees Celsius inside, and things are overheating and failing, and we have no way to test that or monitor it. It's just we're waiting for people to call on the radio saying, hey, I'm having problems, and then trying to figure out what it is exactly. Yeah. But it caused a lot of headaches for us. And now in our new system, in our mobile system in London, we have Adder Infinity 4,000 units, which are a massive improvement. Because now we have the matrix controls, we have management system, we have everything running over the actual network infrastructure, which already is much more bulletproof because it's central to everything that we do. So we've got monitoring tools, we've got enterprise level hardware, whereas before it was all kind of out of the box, just not robust enough. No, absolutely. I think you mentioned earlier you use or are trying to use more APIs as well, and stream decks and that type of thing. Yeah, we usually have at least one stream deck at our kind of control center for the stage, because that gives us quick and easy commands of all of our base functions for the LED wall, and all of our kind of AV kit throughout. So we've done a lot of custom layouts through BitFocus Companion, things like that. Nice. So we haven't quite delved into all the APIs that are now, all API functions that are available on the Adder system, but we're keen to get it more integrated with everything else that we have. Yeah, for sure. So talking of the Adder KVM system, how was that relationship formed, and how's that been for you? It's been great so far, honestly. We'd been fighting for a long time to have a new KVM system, because we knew that was kind of a single point of failure that could really bring a production to a screeching halt. But we'd been lucky enough that it was always intermittent failures, or, this one cable went bad, or whatever. It was, it was not a catastrophic failure. So it was hard to make a business case for saying, hey, let's make a major investment in this infrastructure that at the end of the day should feel invisible. We want our end users to not even realize that they're interacting with a whole other layer of technology. We want them to feel like, my computer's under my desk and I'm connected directly to it. And so it's hard to make that business case to say, this is why this is absolutely critical. But about a year ago, we were in a stage in London, and we were, it was a like frozen tundra scene, and that meant that we had fake snow effects, which got into all the fans for everything on set. We had atmospheric haze, which made it hard to see and breathe, and also made it very hot. And then we had full white, snowy backgrounds on the LED wall, which means that they're generating tons of heat. So the stage was, I think, about 45 degrees, and we had multiple failures across the entire stage. And the most egregious one was our KVM system. So we had people remoting in from their laptops through tools like TeamViewer just to be able to operate Unreal Engine, which, to anyone who's done that, I don't recommend it.
Well, where you've got stuff happening on set and on stage where you need that switching to be fast.
Yeah.
That's catastrophic for live production. Well, not live production, but recording a production, right?
Yeah, it was not just slowdowns, but it was actually like limiting our ability to actually do our jobs in a high pressure environment where we've only got a couple of days to shoot a lot of content. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So that week, we basically escalated it as high as we could. We said, this is absolutely a necessity. We cannot wait any longer. We can't push this off as it'll be nice one day to do this. This is now mission critical. This production has shown it to us. So we reached out to Adder to get some demo units in so that we could show everyone, like, this is how it should work. And we want everybody to have full confidence in the system before we purchase. But we also have a week before the next show, so we have to do this fast. So we got in touch, and we were connected with Chris Soodle, who came down to the set while we were actually wrapping that show out. Like, we were tearing down the sets and everything, and he came in and plugged it into our mobile racks, and we had everyone come over and be like, hey, come look at this system. This is what we would really encourage that we buy. And our Unreal operators came over and looked at it, and they wiggled the mouse around to make sure that it was responsive enough. They're like, great, it works. It feels like I'm just at my computer.
Yeah, easy as that.
And we had IT look at it. We had a demo system for a couple of days, and it was astounding how easy it was and fit in with our network infrastructure. It just worked. The management system was easy. And so within probably a week, we had a PO raised, and Chris and CVP helped us get one within probably 4 or 5 days. So we had a whole system, and then while we were building out the new stage for our next production that was up in Leeds, we had people actively working on content on the LED wall while we're in the back of racks trying to plug things in and get it all ready for production. And because it was easy enough to get everything integrated, it was a fast install, fast configuration. We were able to train people on site, and we were ready for the show, and it had fantastic results. It was the feedback that we got from the entire team was really positive.
Great. And now you use Adder for all of your deployments?
Yeah, so all of our mobile deployments now come just with the Adder system ready to go. And every bid that we have for a new build, for any procurement, every single one has an Adder system in it. Cool. Specifically the Infinity 4000, because 4K, 60, 10-bit is an absolute requirement for us. And that is the product for us.
Yeah, cool. How would you feel if someone told you next week that you had to go back to the system you're using beforehand?
I would say, it's a hard no.
Very good. Well, you mentioned a minute ago, and it's something that we pride ourselves on, and it's something we say quite a lot here, is that our technology is supposed to be invisible and feel invisible and also feel seamless, to the point that you shouldn't even really notice it being there. And you only notice it there if something goes wrong. And I think I heard you say to Chris earlier, you've not actually been in touch with any of the ProServe guys yet. So touch wood, nothing's gone wrong so far.
That's been great. I mean, we had one tech support request because there was one 8-bit display that was giving us more network traffic than we expected. And we're like, oh, why is that? And within 20 minutes, we had a response saying, oh yeah, there's this one setting that might help with that. And it did. And it was like, oh, great. Perfect.
Yeah, the guys are really good. So that's a bit on the relationship between Dimension and Adder. And firstly, thank you so much for coming in today and hosting the internal session and now doing the podcast. The session was great and I've really enjoyed this podcast with you as well. And as I said, you are our first external guest, so we appreciate you coming in and taking the risk on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor.
Cool. Okay, so while we have you here, we have to talk about our brand new customer experience center, which we're currently sat in. So can I get your thoughts on it? What do you think of the space?
It's a beautiful space. I think it's great for the podcast. And I hope that we can bring up some of our colleagues up here to be able to show off new products and see it with, control systems and LED screens and PTZ cameras. It's nice to be able to see everything in person and not just on a website.
Yeah, for sure. I think the feedback we've had has been great. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice that you agree. I would be doing some of my colleagues a disservice if I didn't ask you a couple more questions after your internal session earlier. So I'll ask you some fairly rapid fire questions just to wrap up the podcast.
Sure.
The first one being, with your LED volumes, what's sort of the typical resolution you're working with?
Sure. So our control systems are pretty much baselined everything at 4K 60, but the actual LED screens, depending on the actual need of the production, because we'll build everything bespoke to the production's needs, but usually I'd say they're between, say, 16, 17K and 32K for the kind of the denser pixels, pixel pitch screens that we've kind of spec'd. So the resolutions are a little bit astounding.
Yeah, for someone that doesn't work in film, that's quite wild to comprehend.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Next question is, what has been up to date your favorite project to have worked on?
I think the largest production that I worked on was Those About to Die for Amazon. That was our show that we did down in Rome, and we deployed kind of all parts of our business for that. We did volumetric capture, we did LED volume, we did virtual scenes, virtual humans, a little bit of everything, and it was very impressive, but it was also full of its challenges.
Yeah.
So I think our most successful one has been this last production that we did last summer in Leeds for a film called Sirius, which should be coming out hopefully soon. And that was, I think, a beautifully shot film, a huge success. We had some of our best feedback from our clients, from other departments on set. Even our producers were all very impressed with how smoothly that entire show ran. So that felt really good.
Cool. Nice. And final question is, how can you see the Dimension and Adder relationship growing? Have you got any plans for future ecosystems of products to bring in?
Yeah. We're always dreaming of new ways that we can deploy new products or projects that kind of get our gears spinning and be like, oh, well, we could do that if we had this thing. So I think we have always got dreams going. But Dimension is now also part of Journey, and Journey creates experiences in fields like architecture, museums, theme parks, airports, now film and TV. So we're hoping that we can work across departments in trying to think of new ways to actually deploy Adder products into some of these other spaces that we're kind of now just having access to now that Dimension is part of this larger team.
Awesome. Well, that's great, and we're all excited here at Adder for the relationship to keep thriving.
Can't wait.
So I think we'll look to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to shout about?
I think keep an eye out on pages like Instagram and LinkedIn for new projects that are coming out. We've got a couple things in the pipeline that are hopefully coming out soon, including that film series that we shot with our new Adder KVMs. So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. I will link Dimension, and also I'll drop your LinkedIn in the description.
Great.
Thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. We hope it's been an insightful podcast, and thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed. Take care.